Hello, everyone. My name is Tim B. Green, and this is 𝗥𝗲𝗍, episode 36, Winning the Brain Game book review. More accurately, this is a book review series because I want to go into some depth on these strategies. So the author is Matthew E. May. I highly recommend the book, but I can only give it 4 out of 5, which is normally the maximum I give books. And the reason being, I don't agree with everything he's said. And it's not just a crazy opinion, it's scientifically based opinion. So I'm just doing some marking here to make sure I have the right material marked in the right color. Okay, so that's this. I want to start with this just to get it out of the way. Like I said, the techniques themselves, this doesn't have any effect on them, but I feel obligated as an educator, as a science geek, to give my position on this. And that is, he talks about 3 things which are either downright wrong, and I have evidence to support that, or highly questionable. And the first of these is something called the quantum Zeno effect and how that affects your brain. I don't really know much about the quantum Zeno effect, only that I can't find any research past the early 2000s, and I have never heard it discussed in any neuroscience circle or class or anywhere. And I think the reason is it was a sexy theory, didn't work out, so people have dropped it. So you can just ignore his information about the quantum Zeno effect because I think it's highly questionable or has since been completely discredited. The second one is, and I can say this from direct experience, he unfortunately thinks that there's a fundamental difference between Eastern and Western mindfulness. What he calls Western mindfulness is included as a larger, more sophisticated version of mindfulness. I can't so much state about Western mindfulness as I can about Eastern, because that's what I have knowledge of and experience of. But he says, oh, well, here's Western and here's Eastern, and here are their differences. There are no differences by his own argument. It's just that his description that he calls Western is incomplete, and his description of the Eastern version is even more incomplete from a lack of knowledge. So everything he says that is Western is also included in Eastern mindfulness, but not vice versa. Okay, so yeah, ignore his stuff on Eastern versus Western mindfulness because he doesn't understand Eastern mindfulness. And then the last one, and I'm very confident and feel very strongly, every neuroscientist I personally know who we've ever talked about this topic is the brain and the mind begin and end at the same place. They're opposite side of the same coin. If you doubt this, have your board of directors go to their annual meeting high on LSD or MDMA. Remember, that affects the brain, but somehow if it affects the mind, which it will change the way they behave. Case closed as far as I'm concerned. It's still debated among neuroscientists and philosophers, but smash the brain, smash the mind. Think enough of the right thoughts, obsess over thoughts, ruminate. You can change the morphology or actual structure of the brain. So your thoughts can change your brain, but your brain can also change your thoughts. So it's a two-way street, because the mind, in my definition and many neuroscientists, is the mind is the output of the physical thing that is the brain. Computer without software or software without computer, either of them on their own is meaningless. In the case of your brain, you can't separate them. So I agree strongly to disagree with his position on that. So what we're actually going to talk about today and focus on is a solution called framestorming. This is brilliant. And what it is ways to expand your design, or let's call it a frame space. So frame as in frame of reference or mindset. And that is because people tend to do what he calls leaping, which is jump to the solution. I do that a lot, but those solutions work, so I'm totally okay with that. But he says many people will jump to solutions, and those solutions are limited or not the best solutions available. So what he encourages you to do is do a framestorm. So you brainstorm questions. Now he talks about 3 questions, and I think that is downgrading, leaping, and satisficing, which are 3 of the flaws of thinking he discusses in the book, and I will elaborate on later. He says, or recommends, ask why questions. Why do we need this product? What if we make it this way? How can we make it cheaper, lighter, stronger, faster? Those are great, but what about who will use the product? Is that not relevant? Or who needs this solution? Is that not relevant? Where are they going to use it? Is that not relevant? Do they have access to electricity? So I would argue that while he says brainstorm questions, why, what if, and how, I would say brainstorm all 7 questions. So I'm adding my own input, my own improvement, and I believe it's an improvement, or I wouldn't be saying it. Who, what, why, when, where, how, which. So ask all 7 WH questions and go crazy. Make as many as you can. Now, to sort of boost the effectiveness of this exercise, I would say reading is hard for me while I'm doing 2 things. It's hard for anybody. Multitasking is a myth. Okay, so do this as long as you can stand it. Now, he has another technique called jump starting, and he would say push through. That is one of 2 options, and I think the best option is both. And that is push through. So when you hit the wall, keep going. It's like, I'm going to do it for another 5 minutes, another 10 minutes, one more, and do that for as long as you can stand it. Then take a 20-minute break. That period of time is based on ultradian rhythms and real research, not arbitrary. So then take a 20-minute break and completely disengage from the problem. Then come back and do the same process again. Now he says at the end of this process, then you finish with the how question is actually the last question. So it's like, how are we going to make ... How are we going to make it lighter? How are we going to do this? And then that's when you're actually going into the brainstorming phase. Now you're leaping to solutions instead of leaping to questions to frame the problem. He says, do your 2 best. I say that's okay, but it's still basically, as far as I'm concerned, downgrading and satisficing. You don't have to limit yourself to 2 problems. You can take all of the best solutions, then compare one to the other, better, worse, better, worse, better, worse, put them into different buckets and keep doing that process, comparing only 2 ideas to one another until you have your very best few ideas or your very best 2 ideas, whatever that happens to be, and compare them to each other and then put them in a hierarchy. That's based on the work of Daniel Kahneman and others. And the other part I'm going to add to this, and that is start with private framestorming and brainstorming. Do not share that information. Do your private framestorm, do a private brainstorm. After you're finished all of that, of course, this is obviously time and resource constrained, but after you've done it privately, there is very good research to show that a private brainstorm or framestorm, then doing it as a group, comes up with far superior solutions. And I won't get into the details why, because I'm running out of time on this video. But that's it. Private, framestorm, brainstorm questions, all the WH is better. Brainstorm solutions, pick your few best ones by comparing one to the other. So this is a combination of his solution and my solution. And that's it for 𝗥𝗲𝗿 episode 36, Winning the Brain Game Framestorm episode. There is 6 more to come. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.